So my name is Ben Lehner and I am a group leader at the Centre for Genomic Regulation, which is located here in Barcelona, Spain. I want to be able to understand and predict why individuals have different characteristics. How, based on our genome sequence, do we end up with different diseases, different characteristics, different behaviors, etc. Trying to move biology away from average outcomes to making good predictions for individuals. At the end of the day, it's like the most interesting question is to understand life. So when I was at school, I was actually not interested in science at all. And I did biology just because that was what they had spaces for. And then it was in the very last year of school when I became interested in biology, when we started doing molecular biology and talking about genetics and DNA. I'm interested in the basics of biology, why particular mutations in one person has an effect but won't have an effect in another person. Another thing is to understand how, when you have two mutations at the same time in different genes, how they combine to change characteristics. Another one is to understand the mutations that happen during our lifetime. So, we inherit genetic sequences from our parents, but then every time one of our cells is dividing, you get mistakes. This is the main cause of cancer, is not mutations that you inherit, it's mistakes that have happened during your life. And we want to understand where these mistakes are, which ones are contributing to cancer, which ones have no effect. Animals we work with is a very simple worm, about 1 millimeter long. And they're genetically the same. So they're identical, they're like identical twins. And you can have 100 worms on a Petri dish. They all have the same genome, and half of them die and half of them survive, okay? And so this is nothing to do with the environment, because they're in the same place, they're a very controlled environment. It's not to do with their genome sequence genetics, because they have the same genome sequence. So it's something else. So it really is like chance coming into biology. So for me, this is ever since I saw this basically in the lab, this has been something that's intrigued me. It's to like, why can some individuals die or have horrible diseases, these animals, but what happens early on in their lives to make these differences?
The main thing he has done is probably to contradict Einstein. No? You remember Albert Einstein mentioned God doesn't play with dice. And I think what Ben has shown is that nature many times plays with dice. So essentially, two people with exactly the same genotype, just because of chance, of random numbers, one could die 10 years before the other one. And I think this is important, the contribution of noise and randomness to the phenotype.
We need to learn how to combine the genetic information with measurements made about the people, so these may be clinical measurements, everything, to combine these two together to say what will actually happen to each individual. And all we're trying to do is to do the same question, just in a much simpler systems, just to prove you can do it.
He's not doing only great science, but he's doing innovative science, and I think this is very rare. British normally are not very passionate, let's put it that way, but he's enthusiastic on what he does, and I think he really enjoys science.
I'd actually forgotten that the Institute had nominated me for this prize, so it was quite a surprise, and yeah, it's great. And it also provides a lot of extra support for the lab, so we can carry on doing slightly more unusual creative projects that are difficult to fund through normal grants. So we can use this money to do more exploratory, high-risk research.